ended up playing, I suppose, a lot more than you probably planned on Saturday, almost the full 80 minutes. Just talk to us about what the feeling was afterwards, and how it will affect you this week. Obviously, it was there was a lot of players sitting up in the stands that maybe would have liked to have been down there as well. But just tell me what the feeling was like afterwards in the dressing room.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. It's always not nice to lose a game in any circumstances, but I suppose to get knocked out in the semi-final, to get with the plan of getting into a URC final, obviously, which was kind of the goal at this stage, was to be in two finals, and it's very disappointing against a team we know very well as well. But I think there's definitely, from our side, there's definitely a lot of things we know we could have done better, but it's definitely a huge amount of credit has to go to Munster. They were really good. They performed brilliantly. Thought they were very impressive, and obviously from our side, we'll learn a lot of lessons, and yeah, we'll have to move on pretty quickly. I think that's the nature of the way these 2 weeks have played out. We're into a final this week, so I think it's been brilliant so far today. Getting the week underway, and there's been great energy about the place, and we've kind of taken the lessons we can from the Munster game, and we're getting excited now for a big one this weekend.
Does it ramp up the pressure on you now?
I think there's always a bit of pressure, but I think I wouldn't say the pressure's up, because I think we kind of expected of each other to go out there and to win. And I mean, the goal for this team has been to try and win the league, win the European Cup as well. So I suppose we probably put that expectation on ourselves. I think as I said, we'll learn a lot from the Munster game. I think it's a great in terms of games to prepare you for La Rochelle in a final. That was as much of a tough knockout game you'll ever have or ever experience, from my point of view anyway. So definitely a good one to have had preparing for this week, I guess. But would have obviously been nice to have got a win, but I think we'll be well prepared because of it.
Hi Josh, Joe Caulfield here from Virgin Media. How are you?
Oh well, thanks.
Where do you feel that game got away from you?
I think it was a tight game throughout. I think the scoreboard probably showed how close it was. I think coming down to the last 10 minutes when we're in the lead, thought we probably could have managed it slightly better, and probably it's small margins. It's decisions going either way, a couple of mistakes, maybe discipline, or just anything that goes wrong in any way, or you don't quite execute right, has big consequences, I suppose, that late in the game. I think you could go back all throughout the game, and there's things, I mean, it'd be obvious to anyone really watching, things that didn't go well, and any of those go well along the line for either team, and that's the difference further along. So I think it was definitely a game of smaller margins. I think we probably for whatever reason we probably conceded a fair few penalties, and and once you do that, you kind of lose control of the game. We probably gave the ball away a bit in their half, and I suppose last 10 minutes that allowed them back into our half, and fair play to them, they managed to execute drop goal to get a win. So small margin, you can probably pick any area, and there's small things that we could have done better, and I think in games like that, that's the difference, I suppose.
Having been so dominant and so impressive over the last couple of seasons, if you weren't to want to win the Champions Cup this season, that would be 2 seasons in a row, having not won silverware, how does that affect the mood within the group? Is it added pressure, or does it just galvanise your determination?
Well, we're kind of not planning on that, to be honest. We're planning on winning this weekend. That's the plan. But I think this team's motivated to win. We want to win silverware. We've incredibly proud group of fans and players who are incredibly proud to play for Leinster. So means everything for us to be able to play for the jersey, and that's what our focus will be. We'll be looking for a win this weekend.
Good luck this weekend, Josh.
Thank you.
Josh, it's Don here. Leo said that the selection for the Munster game kind of lacked cohesion. Are you hoping for a more settled team this week against La Rochelle?
I suppose I thought we managed to do pretty well. I thought Munster were good. It's obviously very tricky at this point in the season being involved. And it's something we've spoken about all along. It's a squad effort, especially when you're in contention. I suppose in two competitions, you can't have the same team playing 6 weeks in a row and then expect to be fresh when you get to finals. So that's kind of the unfortunate side of it, that you can't just, sport doesn't work like that. You have rotations, you have injuries, you have whatever. But there has to be a bit of that, and I think fair play to Leo. He's always backed the entire squad. It's not just 15 lads who play all the games all throughout the year. And the last few years, he's always backed the guys who haven't played as much, or even the guys who've played a lot of the time when maybe the internationals were away or that kind of thing. So I think obviously didn't go to plan on the weekend, but I think we've a very hungry group and some world-class players who don't even get to play that often starting in the starting 15. So I think the quality is there throughout, and I think part of the two competitions is you have to keep rotating it. So I think it's just the way it's played out, I guess.
Good. Thanks, Josh, and good luck.
Thank you.
Hi Josh, how are you doing? Is there any part of the team that will talk about doing this for Johnny and Stuart? Because they're obviously coming to the end of their time at Leinster, and Stuart will deny it in a few minutes when I ask him if that's any motivation. But will you guys chat about, making sure you get it all just for those two, for the coach and Johnny?
I'm not sure if it'll be meant specifically. It might be, I suppose, later in the week, but it's definitely something I'd be thinking of personally in terms of my own motivation. I don't think you need much more motivation for a game like this, but like Stuart has done so much for me personally since he's come to Leinster. As a former number 7 himself, he's been absolutely invaluable to me and has helped me grow as a player a huge amount. And Johnny, in the same way, has made this club the success it's been, I suppose, over the last number of years that he's been involved. It's no coincidence really, and the same with Ireland. So they're two people who've motivated me a huge amount, and even looking at the likes of Dave Carney, he's been there in so many of the great days in Leinster, and there's a number of players all throughout the squad, even James Tracy, who unfortunately had to retire earlier in the season, and people like that, they all motivate you. You want to do it for them because they're part of that Leinster family, I guess. And then I suppose there's, talking about motivation, playing in front of home fans with their families all there, there'll be no shortage of motivation, but definitely Stuart and Johnny will be in the back of my mind anyway when playing the game.
And just what you said there about Johnny, we've talked him up for the last 15 years as one of the best rugby players ever, the best Irish rugby player ever. I mean, our Leinster, I know Ross has done brilliantly, but are Leinster a better team this year going into the final? It's the same matchup. Are you a better team this year going into the final?
I think regardless of number 10 or who's playing there, I think the experience we've learned along the way, I'd like to think every year I know other teams develop and improve as well, but I'd like to think every year we've probably added things on and tried to improve different things. So I definitely think we're even the lessons I suppose we've learned from last year will be hopefully invaluable to us this year and this weekend. So I'd like to think we're in a better place for sure.
Good luck on that.
Thank you.
Hi Josh, Ashling here from Off the Ball. How are you?
All good, thank you.
Good. What can you expect from a La Rochelle side led by Ron O'Gara?
Yeah, I mean they've been brilliant. Been brilliant all season. They've been brilliant for the last 3 years. Really, getting to three Heineken or Champions Cup finals in a row is very, very impressive. So I think full credit to them. They've showed their consistency. They got good dangerous backs, really big physical pack, and they've definitely shown their class and consistency over the last few years. So I think it'll be a big challenge. It was the same last year. They got some really good individuals that are pretty key to the way they play, and they use them pretty well. So we'll definitely be expecting a very, very tough game against who are a brilliant team.
How much of an advantage is it to have it in the Aviva Stadium?
Yeah, I think we saw last year in Marseille the difference. It obviously the support they had that La Rochelle had was incredible, and made for an incredible atmosphere, and we're hoping for the same this year, but on our side with a few more blue flags, and I think that's the support. I mean, you wish you could get every Leinster supporter into the stadium, but it's unfortunately not that way. You can't fit everyone in, but the support we've got has been absolutely amazing wherever we seem to play, home or abroad. So it'll be incredibly special to be playing in Dublin at home with all our family and friends watching on, and the sea of blue Leinster supporters as well. So it's going to be very special.
Brilliant, thanks. The best of luck.
Thank you.
Hi Josh, Jerry Corey, Dublin City FM. How tough is the scheduling now? Playing a week after the semi-final of the URC. Obviously losing it is not great. But going into the final then a week later, how tough is the scheduling of these competitions?
It's not something I think of too much, to be honest. Obviously, it is of course tough playing big games back to back, but I suppose it's part of what we're used to. It's no different in the Six Nations or a World Cup, or any time really. There's a lot of tough games back to back, but I kind of don't think about it, to be honest. I just go around told and get ready to play. I think it's just I suppose it is what it is, and I think we'll be well prepared for this weekend. I think the way it obviously didn't work out well on the weekend, having lost, but I think Leo has managed the team quite well throughout the season. That he's been able to manage players and rotate them, keep people as fresh as possible to be able to perform at their best when they're on the field. So hopefully that'll stand to us now this week.
And just losing to Munster in the semi-final, like you can throw everything at this game on Saturday. Obviously it's the big one, and you really want to win it. So is that sort of a huge motivation to go all out for this, the fifth star?
Yeah, definitely. I think I like to think every time we take the field we give everything, but I suppose definitely this week there's a trophy on the line at the end of it, and unfortunately I suppose it'll be our last week of the season either way. But where else would you rather be in a European final for a week like this? It's unbelievably exciting, and I think everyone's like the atmosphere. I know we lost on the weekend, but there's a great atmosphere around the place today. Loads of energy. People are excited because it kind of it can be easy to forget all that's been, but even looking back over the season, there's so much work that goes in from the start of pre-season, or even years building up to getting a team that's good enough to get to a final. So it's definitely been a big build up to it, a huge amount of work that's gone in, and we'll hopefully enjoy it and put in as big a performance as we can.
Hard luck on the weekend. I mean, obviously a loss at home is not good. A loss to Munster is worse. Being out of the competition is worse again. How quickly, or what do you have to do to shut that behind you straight away? And there's the natural grieving process in sporting terms that's a hard loss to take up. But what do you do to move over that as quickly as possible?
Well, you've got to get from what's the problem to what's the solution as quickly as you can. So obviously, the first thing you do in the change room is address, initial feelings and try and give them some form of understanding about what happened and why it happened, but also some clarity of what's going to come next. So the review is important. How you construct the review as a coach, how you put the analysis together to give them solutions as to what happened. Reflecting on the positive parts of the game. It was an amazing game of rugby, wasn't it? I mean, to be there, to go 44 minutes ball in play, two great teams going at it. So it's not dwelling on all the negatives, it's making sure you draw the broad lessons out of what we can do better, and then applying it into, obviously, which is this week, which is a huge week for us. I think we sumo as well. We have the phrase sumo, shut up, move on, and you have to put that away. You have to put it to bed, and you can't drag it around, because if you spend all your time looking backwards, then you can't see what's coming in front of you, and there's a big chance coming this weekend.
Just ask one more. I mean, we've spent the last 10 or 15 years talking of Johnny Sexton as one of the best rugby players Ireland has ever seen, one of the best rugby players in the world. How do you match up to last year, but he's not in your team this year, and Ross has done spectacularly well, but I mean, do you think you're in as good a shape this year as you were last year? Because we have to give Johnny, he has to get the credit for what he has and what he brought to the team. So how do you think you're shaping up?
I think we're in good shape.
Last year.
I think we're in good shape. I mean, obviously, we played Toulouse in the semi-final last year. It was, we got 40 points in them. They came on the back of having an extra time against Munster this year they came rested and fully loaded, having had a week preparation, and we did the same. That said, the team we're playing against are playing better as well. So I know Exeter, I know Saracens very well. I thought the two performances that La Rochelle put in were outstanding, really, in those games. So I think both teams have improved from last season, and that's what makes it such a brilliant final. To have the same two teams from last year going head to head in Dublin this time, as opposed to being in France, makes it incredible. So and I'm very confident in the players we have. There's the evolution and the development of Ross. You've seen on the international stage, he's been a major part of Leinster's success over the last 5 years as well. He's played a huge number of games for Leinster, and very confident in his ability and everyone else's.
Johnny heavily involved this week with team meetings and anything else he can throw in?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I've always keep saying to him, he's my assistant coach anyway, and I keep persuading him to try and coach in the future. So it's great to have him, chipping in with his experience. But he also knows that it's time for the other lads as well, to lead. So, but no, he's been brilliant, really.
Thanks, Stuart. Best of luck on Saturday.
Hi, Stuart here. Thanks. Joe Coffins here from Virgin Media. How are you?
Good job.
The fact that you only have one trophy to play for now, does that increase the pressure going into Saturday?
I think there's been pressure. It feels like there's been pressure for a long time in terms of knockout rugby. Every game we've played recently, if you get it wrong, a quarter final, you get it wrong, you're knocked out. Semi-final, you get it wrong, you're knocked out. Obviously, we played the semi-final against Munster in the URC, and we are knocked out. Of course, we want to win everything. Every team sets off to achieve that, but it's unbelievably hard to do. Very, very hard to do. If you go back to last year, and you look at the French league, for example, who do you say the best two teams in France were? You'd say Toulouse and La Rochelle. Toulouse lost in the semi-final of Europe, lost the semi-final of the top 14. La Rochelle lost in the quarter-final of the top 14, won the European Cup. it's very, very hard to do, and I think people underestimate how hard it is. So we're obviously hugely disappointed having lost, but you can't dwell on that for too long because we've got the Champions Cup final in Dublin on Saturday. So all roads lead to that, really.
Josh said on a number of occasions there when we were speaking to him that the energy in camp today was really good. The fact that you're playing a repeat effectively of last year's Champions Cup final, you know your opposition, it is the chance to redeem that loss. How do you harness the pressure and make it into a positive?
I just think it's not getting consumed by the pressure, really. I've been involved in many games now, both here with Leinster, obviously with England, and it's making sure you don't let it consume you and affect your preparation. Preparation is still the key to success, in my opinion, and focusing on individual roles and responsibilities, clarity of game plan, and get that done early in the week so the boys can then bring the emotion, physical emotion, and the right emotional energy to the game, but in a nice, calm way. So the game will look after itself because family and friends playing in Dublin and everything else, and the quality of the opposition. Let's not make any mistakes. They're a better team than they were last year. They beat us on the last play. It could have gone either way, the game. So it's using the nerves in a positive way. I think the phrase psychology says getting the butterflies to fly in formation.
Brilliant. Thanks, Stuart. Good luck on Saturday.
Stuart, it's Don here. Leo said that Munster are now playing offensively and defensively on a similar playbook to Leinster, but I think so are Glasgow and Connacht, who could have got into the URC final. Do you think that you raised the benchmark or the votes for all clubs?
I think all the coaches look at all the teams, and Crusaders, raised the benchmark for me. New Zealand raised the benchmark for me, and I spend all my time studying those types of teams. So Toulouse raised the benchmark for me as a young coach, and more latterly as well. France, obviously, La Rochelle, all the best coaches are all watching each other, and we're all studying each other's game plans and deciding what can work for us and what can help. So I think the standard has gone up generally. Certainly in the URC, there's no doubt the South African teams have made a huge difference to the quality, and that has forced teams like ourselves to up the bar as well. So I think it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, in terms of like the evolution of the game. But I think the URC and Europe is only getting stronger at the top end. When you look at the quality of the top 14 now, the number of overseas players going at the top 14, and having to adapt as we do now to play. 1 week you're playing a Welsh team, then a Scottish team, then an Italian team, then a South African team, then a French team, then an English team. It definitely stretches you as a coach and stretches the players as well.
Thanks, Stuart.
Hi Stuart, Ashton here from Off the Ball. How are you?
Yep, good, thanks.
Good. You spoke there about using the pressure in a positive way. How much are you using the agony of defeat in last year's Champions Cup final as motivation for this year's?
Yeah, it's always there. It's always there, the pain of any defeat. If you ask any player, any coach, what drives you, what motivates you, is it the fear of failure or the joy of success? And it's probably a combination of the two, really. The feeling you get when you're in the change room after the game and they've got the satisfaction of winning a game, a tough game, and you've come out on top. But equally, in the back of everyone's mind is the fear of what it feels like in that change room when you haven't done that. So we don't, you don't overly reference it as a coach because you just fill in the minds full of negative images. The reality was that came down to the final play, and it was won on the final kick, really. So you take lessons from that, but you don't dwell on it for too long. You talk more about your evolution as a group and the confidence that should be built on the back of the quality players we have and how hard we've worked during the season. So yeah, it's part of it, but you don't want to necessarily become obsessed with it. As I said earlier on, if you spend all your time looking back, you can't see what's coming at you.
Leinster, they're aiming to end a 5-year wait for that 5th Champions Cup title. What would it mean to you personally to be able to go on and win it?
Well, it's definitely not about me, that's for sure. It's for the group. If you go back to 2016, we taught with the group then, a lot of whom these young lads who weren't even in the senior squad at that point, about trying to achieve, winning 5 stars and 6 and 7 and 8 and everything else that goes with it. The lads who were in the room at the time, some of them would have retired. So it's always a huge goal for Leinster to achieve it. This group of lads, have worked as hard as any other group I've coached. 7 years here, they've been brilliant, really. But you've got to earn it. You've got to earn it on the day. You've got to deliver on the day. There's always things that ebb and flow in the game that dictate the outcome. Some of which you can control, and some of which you can't. So you just got to do your best to prepare the players as best they can. The players got to do the best to prepare as best they can, and deliver on the day. But the secret is not to really hold on too tight to everything, and enjoy it as well. The emotion of playing, and the joy of playing with your teammates who you've worked so hard with. That's the driver for these Leinster boys.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thanks.
Alright, maybe it's clearing over to you, Stuart. Just wondering what the day will be like for you. Do you allow emotions and final days get into your head at all?
Engage neutral, Claire. Engage neutral.
Surely though,
No.
With that shiny 5th star after all your years.
No, honestly, I'm like fully into process mode. No, for me, like I say, I'd in my mind, we've talked about this to the group. You rest at the end, not in the middle, and we can rest at the end. But I'll just be in process mode of doing my best to study the game as the game unfolds. Try to help Leo out, trying to help out at half time. But the majority of the work is done, to be honest, way before a final. And you've got to trust the players that they can deliver on the day, and hopefully they do. And if they don't, they're still going to go on and be a great team. They still are a great team. You look at the quality that they've delivered this year, the quality they've delivered for Ireland, the quality they will deliver in the future. I'll be in neutral till the end.
If Leinster weren't to close it out though, given this team, how strong it's been, how dominant it's been, it would be another very hard one to take, wouldn't it? Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I mean, you want to win every game, don't you? You're like, losing any game kills me, really. But but you're up against the very best team. You're up against the very best team in Europe, and you saw, I know Saracens and Exeter very well, and they beat those 2 teams comfortably. They're a better team than last year. I remember talking to the players, it was a while ago, actually, a couple of years ago, about the New England Patriots, and they won 6 Super Bowls, I think, in 18 years, and that was called a dynasty. It's unbelievably hard to do. And you need to bounce the ball, a bit of luck on the day. You need to play well on the day. But it shouldn't define you. It won't define me as a coach. It won't define the players. They're going to go on to great things. They're an amazing group to work with. Homegrown majority. Leinster should be very, very proud of the group of players they have who've come through. I want to work out so hard for the fans.
Thanks, Stuart. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Yeah, hi, Stuart. Jerry Curry, Dublin City FM. I'm just wondering, having played La Rochelle in France last year in the final, and bring the fun out to the Aviva and a full house. Is the 16th man a big factor in the final in terms of galvanising the team?
Yeah, it's certainly can play the part. The fans can certainly play the part. I mean, unbelievably so. I was in the stadium for the Ireland-England Grand Slam, the Grand Slam game in March. And the energy the Irish crowd gave the team on that day, and Ireland, as you know, didn't play their best, I guess, in that game, but the energy the crowd gave the team was, I thought, incredible. And there's been times for Leinster with me, I can remember over the last 7 years, some amazing occasions when people have got in early and they're in the seats and the team are out warming up. You can feel the energy build. And having been in a few finals now, European Cup finals, it's often quite a cosmopolitan crowd, in that a lot of people get tickets who don't know who's going to be in the final. So you've got this real mixed match of supporters from different countries, but you've still got this hardcore of people who've hopefully got tickets who were born and bred in Leinster and or certainly in Ireland and want to support the team. So the energy they can bring is huge, and whether it's inspiring a player to go the extra yard, to influencing a player to make that extra effort to make a play. It all has a part to play, it'd be an amazing occasion. So get in early, please.
Just a quick one in terms of Munster. I think as Graham Rowntree had said there, that they're battle hardened from playing their last 5 games away from home. Do you think that was a factor in the way they played Leinster, that they were up against it, but they were able to use, having played away in the last couple of weeks, they used that as a maybe momentum?
No, there's definitely that part to play. We made a lot of changes, and I think Leo spoke after the game in terms of cohesion. So, as I said before, it's very hard to fight on 2 fronts all the time. And Munster, they played well. But that's done and dusted now. We use the disappointment from that game as motivation for this game, and we've a pretty good team, but we're against a champion team, so we're looking forward to it.